Alright, this video is also going to be a little bit different. It's about horror games and what I'd like to see in the future. Because apparently the horror game is a dying breed. And I know there's been horror games like Aliens vs. Predator, I guess you could say, is sort of like a horror game. More of just like a survival game. Resident Evil 5 wasn't really scary. There's intense moments, but not really a horror game. Still a good game. Fuck you people that hate on it. What I'm talking about is back in the day, back in like PlayStation 1 era and all that, when they were real horror games like Silent Hill, Resident Evil 2 and 1, and The Suffering, one of the greatest horror games ever made, in my opinion. Why won't they make a fucking third one by now? It's 2010 with all this fancy high definition graphics, all the amazing sound, intelligent AI, and the big massive Pandora's box of the Blu-ray disc. They can't make a decent horror game. I know there's the what's it called? Dead Space. Where I watched a Let's Play of that by Over the Gun, and it was like, okay, there's like 5 different types of monsters, and you just shoot their arms and legs off. Big whoop. Not really scary. But in a game like The Suffering, all the monsters were these twisted frickin' nightmares crawling on the walls, ceilings, popping out from glass. That was like survival horror done right. Because most survival horrors, they kind of fuck it up. They either make it to where you're too strong, you run around, one shot, insta-killing the monsters. The monsters aren't even that scary. Or you're too weak, you're like some fucking 12-year-old anime bitch with a really short skirt running around screaming from one asshole. Like in Doom, they meant to do that game right, because, you were a Marine, but the monsters could kick the shit out of you, and you had to kind of keep your distance from them. Like, to do a truly good survival horror game, they'd have to have it to where the monsters could kill you in 1 or 2 hits. There's lots of places to hide or run from. The perfect survival game would be mix Doom with Mirror's Edge and Splinter Cell. Or instead of shooting, you're mostly running or hiding. Shooting only weakens the enemies or temporarily disables them. Like you shoot something in the face and like grabs its face, starts roaring, and you just gotta run away and hide or jump on a building. And Doom 3, like I said, it's sorta you were overpowered, but not really. It's had creepy enough atmosphere. It had some really big nasty enemies, that's why I got the big old guns, but The Suffering did it right with the survival horror. You weren't quite so overpowered. The enemies were quick and agile. They'd come out of nowhere. And it was actually scary sometimes with the constant vision and the noises. But here's how you can... But, with any survival game, the main problem is if you go through it once, you've experienced everything. You know where all the monsters are. You know where they're going to pop out, what they look like. So you're going to have to, not play it for a few years and then play it again to get scared again. But here's how you fix that. You create a bunch of monsters, like over 100, maybe 500 monsters, but you only have 25 in the game at once. It'll randomly choose out of those 500 monsters which one it'll use in the game. You sort of have what's in Left 4 Dead system, where it's randomly generates spawn points. Well, not really, but it switches them up. Have that there. So we can change which type of monster you may fight. Almost got over a cold. But speaking of Left 4 Dead, that game's not scary. It's intense, but not scary, because, there's zombies everywhere. Occasionally you run to a big nasty. I'm sure it gives me nightmares, but it's intense. I'm talking about Silent Hill and Resident Evil. If they manage to do that shit today, like actual scary games, they could do it right. Like I was saying, if they use maybe a random monster generator, that would, I don't know, that would kind of be like in Borderlands where all the guns look alike. They'd have to do it right, make it to where it's really random, and that would be like the ultimate survival horror game. random monster generator, sort of like a mix between Mirror's Edge and Gears of War. I know I'm repeating myself, but I'm trying to drive in the point. I know they're making Doom 4, and I hope that comes out soon. I know it's gonna be like uber graphics, like gonna turn on the games. Like, why is Gears of War using live action cutscenes? Holy shit! Maybe not that good, but maybe Gears of War will do it right. And I know about Alone in the Dark. Wasn't very scary. I like the puzzle system. I played in the demo. Wasn't really scary. There hadn't been any really good scary games since Condemned. I played the demo for number 2, but it was more of a brawler, wasn't really scary. Condemned 1 was pretty scary, though you just kind of ran around a lot. I don't really like horror games where there's bump scares. Those are kind of stupid. With the right ambiance and atmosphere, you can scare the piss out of somebody, like in Resident Evil 2, The Suffering, and of course, Doom. So the only horror games coming out now are Doom 4, which will probably be good and scary, and Alan Wake, which will probably be ass. You're basically like The Suffering, except you have a flashlight and you're fighting off guys wearing dark clothing. Big whoop. It's more of an action puzzle game in the dark. I'm talking about real scary. I'm talking about running around in a dark corridor and you hear some kind of monster scream and you turn around and you see something fly by you. I'm talking about you hear shit like going underground, or you can be killed, like in Resident Evil 3, with Nemesis constantly on your ass. Like, you walk into a room, then suddenly, boom, there's Nemesis. You either fight or run. And he'd still catch up to your ass. Or like in Resident Evil 2, with the Lickers showing up. But yeah, so there's only like 2 survival games coming out that I've heard of. I want another Suffering game. They could do it right. I want Doom 4 to be really fucking scary. Maybe if they said for Resident Evil 6 they're completely redoing it, so it's gonna be a complete like reboot. So even though there's a bunch of loose ends in the Resident Evil mythos, they're gonna do a reboot. So it's gonna be completely different controls, set in the same universe probably. Maybe it'll be more horror-based. Hope they don't turn into like a first-person shooter. That would piss a lot of people off. I'd still get it though. But, they'd have to either make it a first-person if they want to make it really scary, or like kind of like RE4. They couldn't return it back to the old style because that would be fucking ridiculous. Let's face it. In Silent Hill and Resident Evil, the gameplay was ass. Oh, looks like I'm coming up my time limit. Well, I don't know how to split these videos, so I'm just going to stop it here and see if I make a second part.